Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode here on the PGSMP. I hope y'all are having a fantastic day. I certainly am, and I promise I'm not trying to make this a daily introduction to the series, but there's a couple of big advancements that have happened over here that we need to talk about in terms of the way that the shopping district is currently happening, and I think that's indicative as the brand new shop that's popped up here, as well as a couple of updates to shops that we were talking about previously. So let's have a look at a couple of these locations, I think. So first off, we have this shop over here, which we briefly highlighted in last week's episode. We now know what's being sold out of here, and it really should have been pretty obvious from what is incorporated in this build. But this is a place where you can stop in and get a couple of nether related goods, specifically nether quartz ore and nether quartz specifically. Now, I think that there's some real good things to love here. They are also selling totems of undying. But I'm really interested to see what other items pop up in here, because I'd assume that if this is the level of dedication that the owner is putting into getting resources from the nether to sell, I'd imagine that it is soon to expand to other things, possibly once a gold farm or something like that gets put up. Now, there haven't been any real updates over here, so we'll gloss past that. No updates at the bookstore that we started off on the top of either. But we do want to talk briefly about this shop, and as I expected, the woods and other goods are slowly moving their way over here from the original plot. Not everything's named up properly, but you can't really expect it to be, especially because of just how difficult it can be to get levels sometimes. Nice little spot for purchasing saddles. I'd assume that those, as well as these horse armors, are collected out of the end. And then you'll see here that there is also some nether-related tree goods that are being sold, which is an interesting thing to note. Now, we'll also want to wander back over this way and talk a little bit about this brand new shop that's not only shown up in its entirety, but what it contains. Of course, based off of the end theme blocks, it's pretty obvious what will be hosted here. And as you can see, there is a box for elytras being sold, as well as shulker boxes, which are being sold at 5 diamonds per unit, which is a pretty fair price, even late game. So very nice to see that that's been done. The last little update we have is for this build over here. And as you can see by this sign, this is Evolve Cold's map shop. A pretty niche market, honestly, as maps have a couple of interesting items. I believe he's primarily selling a couple of different things, and you can see here that there's a pretty jammin' little tune going on. If you are familiar with Star Wars, you recognize exactly what this is. But currently, these maps, at least from what I would assume is going on, are maps leading to ocean monuments and or woodland mansions, though I don't think that it would be a bad idea for maps or compass maps to be sold here at some point either, as I myself am interested in making a map art of my base to kind of get things acquainted a little bit. It looks like there's a pier of some sort that's been started down here, or a barge type area. I don't think that there's anything currently in here, but it certainly could have something sooner rather than later. And nothing down here. I'm assuming that this area was mined out, as to my knowledge, I don't think anyone has made their way to an ocean monument and got their hand on some sponges. But I could be wrong, as I don't keep tabs on everyone and what they're at in the level of their progression. So things are certainly interesting. But those are the real updates we needed to go over here. So let's head back over to the Nether so we can make our way back to our home base, because we've got a pretty big project that I want to knock out. And by big, I mean important, not necessarily large in scale. So the project that we're going to be setting up is going to take place somewhere nearby, probably right over here in this little clearing that takes place right over this way. Mainly because I'm going to be spending a lot of time nearby working on this little base area, and it's good to see that some of the trees that I planted up over here have grown in, because I want this base to really rise up out of this forest and kind of loom over the top of it, as that's going to provide that effect, and honestly I feel be a very cool thing to see. So it's nice that these trees have kind of expanded out this way, and I will probably make a couple more. You can see that I initially, when planning out the base, had kind of blocked out an area over this way, but because I wanted it to be confined within the trees, I went ahead and moved it back over a little bit. And Max and MC Shorty was very kind in offering to knock out a bunch of the dark oak that was within this area, and he will turn around and sell that at a profit. So I guess it worked out for both of us. But yes, the project that we're going to be setting up over here, just in this small little clearing area, it needs to be within, earshot of this base that we're going to be spending a lot of time building. And this is going to be kind of my first farm build of this season, not including the different farms that we've already built for a couple of nether-related goods. We are going to be building a creeper farm in here, and I should probably set up an actual sugarcane farm within this area as well. I'd like to corner the market on at least gunpowder, if not kind of venture over into the rockets market for flying, because I certainly want to have large amounts of those rockets on standby. The last thing that we'll do before, or a little update we'll give before talking about that build, is what's contained over here. And this just has to do with some of the strategies that I've been employing when making use of the materials that I've gotten out of here. So let me grab a fungus over here so I can demonstrate kind of what I'm talking about. We'll take one of these crimson funguses because that's the one that really I'm needing more of to balance out the build palette. But we can make our way down to the bottom here. And I'm doing this manually. Maybe I'll automate this process at some point, but upon planting this fungus down on the nylium, you can hit it with a little bit of bone meal. You'll then want to come through as quickly as you can with your axe and knock out at least the bottom piece of that tree. That way you don't have to refresh the nylium down here, which would really be a pain where that's far away for me. But now what I've done is I've got this scaffolding which is positioned equidistant away from both growing plots for either sorts of these nether trees, and that allows me to get up on top of whatever height the tree may happen to grow to, and I can then use my diamond hoe, which I hope to eventually have upgraded to netherite once I get around to actually searching that stuff out, to make it go a little bit faster. I also need to get one more point of efficiency on it. But this allows me to kind of knock down the tree in its entirety. So we'll work our way down. I'm also very interested in these shroom lights because that's going to be the main light source that I'm working with for this build, mainly due to just how available it is to me, as well as it being one of my preferred light source blocks in the game. And I don't have access to, well, no one on the server really has access to sea lanterns because no one set up a guardian farm as of yet, and I don't live close enough to an ocean or a guardian monument in order to make any sort of use out of that, really. So the main thing that I wanted to showcase here, and I'll just kind of talk my way through cutting down the rest of this tree, is these blocks, specifically these nether wart blocks that serve as the leaves for these trees, have a very nice side effect of being a high percentage saturation for being thrown into a composter. So I'll show you what I mean by that. If I walk over this way, or back up to the actual base itself, you'll see that I have a little bit of a station set up over here for auto composting. And the reason that I have this set up is I just don't have a use for these nether wart blocks. So we'll go ahead and throw these in here and then just kind of watch. This cycles through not with 100% efficiency, but just about, and will make copious amounts of bone meal, making this kind of my main source for bone meal currently, because it's a lot closer to home than the skeleton farm, which I have over in this area there. So yeah, this works very, very well. And then I can take these warped roots and these crimson roots as well, because I don't really have a use for either of those, and throw those through the composter as well, further allowing me to restock the bone meal that I have in this little farm over this way. Again, saving me a trip over to the actual skeleton farm. Now, bones are still certainly a much better source of bone meal, but where I have this that kind of automates and runs itself, I really don't have to worry about as much, all things considered. So you'll see here that they'll continue to work with that for just a bit. So I think we've given the updates and the thoughts and tutorials as much as I really need to. So let me go ahead and start working on this creeper farm, and I think I'm gonna do this in the form of a time lapse. So I hope that you enjoy what that looks like. There you have it. The creeper farm is at least built. It's not up and running as of yet. The only things that I have remaining to do is to set up the collection system, as well as, you know, inserting the actual water buckets to get it up and running. But that ought to do it for getting the gunpowder that I'm desperately looking for to get either selling on the market or, you know, make my own personal rockets. But let me know what you think in the comments down below what I should do with that gunpowder once I've got everything up and running. And I do have confirmation that it is at least working, because even though the farm itself might not be running, the large spawn inducing platform is indeed inspiring spawns from many a different mob, including but not limited to spiders and creepers. And those are the two things that are primarily going to come out of this thing. So I can't really complain. But like I said, if you're enjoying the series, please feel free to leave a like, and don't forget to check the description for all of the other collaborators on this series, because I'm sure that they're making awesome content as well. I'm fairly busy, so I don't get a chance to watch it myself, but there's a reason that I have this group put together, and that's so people like you can enjoy what's being created by everyone that's working together on this series. So thanks again for watching, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Bye-bye.